Hey guys, what's up? Twinreaper here. As you can see, I'm just working on a map here. Just wanted to go over a few things today, cover questions that I get fairly often over in Discord and some other Halo sites around the internet. Um, First thing I want to answer, no, I do not have Halo Reach for PC. That was a joke. That was inspired actually by, I think it was Tweak, or may have been somebody else that turned me on to the fact that I can actually specify what I'm actually playing at the moment. So even though I have 3Ds Max open, when you go over to Discord, it shows that I'm playing Halo Reach. So please stop spamming me with messages about how I have Halo Reach for PC. So anyway, on to the main reason for this quick little video today. Most questions I get most often are about map making, how I go about doing maps, why do I choose the maps that I do, and what's my general methodical process for creating the maps. Well, to be perfectly honest, there really is no method to any of my madness. I think one of the biggest misconceptions with making maps is everyone seems to think that if you pick a map, like let's say, from Halo Reach, let's say if you pick something like Boneyard or Powerhouse, and you just drop it right into Halo 2. Everyone thinks, oh, cool, that's great. We've got Powerhouse in Halo 2. Or, whoa, we can set up some massive CTF games on Boneyard. And then they run into the problem that the map does not play well at all on the Halo 2 map making system, nor is it very functional the same way that it was on Halo Reach. So, biggest misconception number one is you can't just drop maps from other titles directly into the game and expect it to play out and work the way you're envisioning, okay? Which leads me to number two, which I always do. The maps that I choose are maps that I believe in, maps that I have experience playing, maps that I genuinely love, which is why you won't see me go and do maps like Killzone did the Narrows. I think Johnny Blaze did a few CE ones a while back. There's just certain maps that I absolutely hate playing, like Coagulation or Blood Gulch. I hate Beaver Creek. So when I choose to do a map, it's because I've played it. I love the map, I believe in it, and I want to bring it over to the game, primarily for my own enjoyment. Number three, you have to basically know what the community wants. Right now, the Halo 2 community is a little fragmented. It seems to be a lot of Mexicans mixed in with a few Americans, mixed in with a few Europeans, and so on and so forth. So, when I pick a map, I also have to understand that what's a map that they're going to want to play. Now, what maps are they currently playing right now? Why are they playing those maps? Unfortunately, right now in the community, it seems to be a lot of stock maps, just basically because that's what they're used to. They enjoy the extreme competitiveness of the basic maps. Even though most of us seasoned Halo 2 veterans, long before they got it, understand that there really is no competitive difference in map layout between some of these great, fantastic custom maps and the stock maps. Number four, when you are going to do a map, you have to take my other 3 points into consideration heavily. Like, let's say, for right now, High Rise I have here. This was originally an ODST level. As you can see here, this was one section towards the end where you had Covenant carriers coming in. Basically, I just mirrored it to make it asymmetrical. That way it supports all game types very well. Also brings in a lot of options for Slayer type games. So the layout on both sides is the same. It's just simply reversed. So very simplistic gameplay, but at the same time, there's a lot of elements in this map. Now, I could have taken the direct port, yes. Would it have played well within Halo 2's mechanics? Absolutely not. So you have to know the map that you're doing. You have to know the flow of the map, the layout of the map, how it affects, inhibits, and also promotes gameplay. Obviously, this one did not promote gameplay just dropping in. So, and that leads me to the other question I'm always asked is, how do I do the map? Do I do it by hand? Do I do a direct rip? Again, there really is no easy answer for that. I find that, for me personally, it's easier to use a mixture of ripped assets as well as custom-made ones. We're not paid for this. I do this on my own time. So, I don't have the luxury to sit here for 8 to 10 hours out of my day, every day, 7 days a week, just hand creating geometry. To give you an example of that, I have Powerhouse here, which I started by hand in CryEngine. I did the rough layout for it with the mesh. Started that in 2012. I didn't actually finish the map until 2014. And I'm actually still working on it now, you can see. So, yeah. But, Powerhouse was created with a completely from scratch, hand-done geometry. I'll see if I can take you through here real quick just to show you, but for some reason my zoom and pan is not working. Or my walkthrough isn't working. I don't know why. Okay, I guess it just doesn't like me. But anyway, anytime that you're going to do a map, I highly suggest that you use a mixture of hand-done geometry as well as imported assets from the game itself. Example of that here is those display things where you can break the glass that has all the readouts on it. Those were ripped over from Powerhouse, and I pretty much just had to fix up the geometry and add them in, whereas to doing them by hand would have added a lot more work on my end. And at the same time, you want to kind of be able to add new elements to the map. Direct ports are cool and all, but sometimes you want to have that flair and finesse that you can add with custom geometry. So that's basically what I do. I start with a base layout of the map. Usually it is a ripped one that I use as the base, and then I continue on from there, tweaking and adding changes to promote better gameplay. One that I did was a direct port. Here you go. There's Grounded, based on Foundation. So what I did was I imported the entire map first, and then I had to go through and decide, okay, what items can be part of the BSP, what items do I want to be spawned as scenery, objects, crates, or machines. Now at the time that I did this, we still had the map limit in place, so our files could not exceed a certain size, or else they wouldn't compile till would tell us blah blah blah, it's too big, you can't do it. So as you can see here, what I did was I just imported Foundation first, And I cleared out everything for foundation except for just the basic blocky layout. And then I had to go through and decide what geometry I wanted to mimic, what theme I wanted to use, and then I had to think about, the flow of the gameplay. What aspects of the map were lacking a little bit. What sections could have been utilized better to promote, maybe just a little more cover to give those spawning characters a better chance of getting out in the battle. How could I add extra um, sections of cover, in the middle section? How could I promote new ways of thinking about how to tackle the map? And that's basically how I went about doing it. Most people just assume, oh, Twin's awesome. He just picks a map, he imports it, textures it, goes with it, and it's just fantastic. But it's not really the case. I spend a lot of time thinking about all aspects of, you know, the level, aside from just, the fantastic textures or lighting. It's most of it is all gameplay. Um, for example, one map that I did, Corpses, which I did primarily to promote infection game type. There really wasn't any map out there that anyone had worked on that was flood in nature. Um, but the downfall of this is the map was created specifically for that game type. So because of that, my short-sightedness on that, um, you can't really play CTF or odd. I mean, you could play oddball, and you probably could play CTF on this. But I mean, if you look at the general layout, it's really just a chaotic mess of just um, flood pieces everywhere. The lighting in the actual map is very dark. Um, so it just promotes that zombie game type and doesn't really give you any clear advantage or disadvantage, or any clear base structure to support anything. Um, so again, when you're going to do a map, you really need to think about these things. I'm not a god, although some people like to say that I'm the best map maker out there. I do God's work with this stuff. Honestly, I just get lucky. I mean, that's really how I feel about it. I just get really fucking lucky half the time when I'm doing this shit. Sometimes my shit is so detailed that, yeah, there's just no way that it's going to compile. There's no way that it's going to go in game. And then at some points it'll go in game, and then of course, there I go fucking around again and start adding shit left and right, and before you know it, it's not working. There's too many vertices, too many polys, the detail level is just insane, or half the shit that I was going to use later doesn't actually turn out as a good render model. So, no, I get lucky a lot, guys. There's no skill involved. You guys might think it's skill, but it's really not. So, so yeah, I mean that's just basically how I go about things. So that's what you want to know. You got to know the map you're working on. You have to believe in the map. You have to think about ways that you can change the layout or things that are inherently in the level to promote better gameplay or smooth gameplay to encompass, the mechanics of Halo 2. Can't stress that enough. I've seen some people do maps where it's just you drop in Halo 2 and it's like, wow, this map does look cool, but then when you start playing, it's like it just feels clunky. It feels out of place. Everything either moves too quickly, or it moves too slow, and it's just it's a fucking mess. And honestly, I think that's why a lot of our custom maps aren't played much. Um, while the community, yes, is primarily Hispanic, and they may prefer a certain style of map, there still has to be at least 20 to 30 of us that, really enjoy custom content and want to see new maps brought over. And the fact that those people aren't playing a whole lot of custom content leads me to believe that the quality of the content just isn't there. So, you can take away from that what you will. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of horrible maps. Some of them I just made for my own enjoyment, but it is what it is at the end of the day. So, just to close, if anybody out there does have map making questions for me, or needs help or direction with getting things done, whether it's ripping assets in, bringing them in and modifying them, or finding ways to manipulate things to make it look like something completely different. Just real quick, for example, in Eternity, I actually have an older, I think I still have an older one that I was working on, where I actually did the entire thing by hand. Well, not by hand. What I did was I created a height map for the geometry, and then I decided that I was going to completely change the direction of how it was going, and as a result, some parts look cool, but it's way too detailed than what I wanted. The texturing of it is abysmal. Just doesn't work out right. And yeah, this was all done by a height map. And the original concept was that instead of having cliffs in the middle section on both sides, one of the sides actually, there was a creek going right down the middle, which you can actually see when I turn on face highlighting. You can see here that when you come out from the sides, it goes into a big chasm where there would be a lake. And on the other side, it just kind of overlooks an entire vista, and the reason I left all this skybox space was so I could actually spawn scenery items for the distance. But, the problem I started running into was primarily texturing it. Number two was the poly limit. Even though we did break the poly limit, there are certain things that just won't fit. It'll complain about too much detail. It can complain that you have too many portals, or that I can't build a leaf map, which is what I'm running into most of the time with my work because it's too detailed. So yeah. So if you guys ever have any questions, comments, or need help, you can find me in Discord, or hit me up on the site. Look forward to getting these new maps out to you guys, and talk to you soon. Peace.